Yes, dear students, welcome to the today's class, Water Technology. This is the second lecture for this particular chapter. I have shared this slide. Just go through. The syllabus, whatever I am going to cover in this particular class is boiler corrosion due to dissolved oxygen, boiler corrosion due to dissolved carbon dioxide, boiler corrosion due to dissolved magnesium chloride, as well as how to determine experimentally dissolved oxygen. With this, I would like to conclude today's class. In my previous class, I have discussed various, say, sources of water and the impurities present in water. Then I have discussed boiler, say, troubles, particularly boiler troubles due to the formation of scale and sludge. So I think you have understood well that particular lecture. So if you have any queries related to my first class, you may ask. Otherwise, we will be beginning with this particular concept. I will be just giving a moment or 1.5 second for you to raise your hands to ask the questions. Then I will proceed. Anybody? Anybody is having any doubt? Okay, then we shall proceed for the today's lecture. Okay, conveniently. I think all of you are audible. Are you audible? By chat, anybody can just say by chat whether you are audible or not. Are you hearing me or not? Sana? Sana? Is it audible for you?
हाँ सर कल
Okay, fine. Hello. In this class, where as I said, boiler corrosion due to dissolved oxygen, dissolved carbon dioxide, and dissolved salt like magnesium chloride. We are going to discuss, and later on, we are going to discuss about you know determination of dissolved oxygen. So, boiler corrosion. You have you may be knowing that boiler is extensively used in various industries, particularly to form water, right from pharmaceutical industries, okay, as well as say oil industries, and in say big industries like say power production industries. Boiler are essential integral part of the industries. Oftenly, water is used there to form the steam. If boiler is going to be corroded, then what are the possible reason for that? You have to understand. So this is our one of the efforts to understand what are the possible reasons for the boiler to get corrosion. See, first of all, For the boiler to get corrode, okay, we are going to understand that there are several reasons are there, but among them, the main reasons are the presence of dissolved oxygen is one of the main reasons, and then presence of dissolved carbon dioxide, and then the presence of magnesium chloride. You may be wondering, how does this presence of oxygen is leading to the boiler corrosion? Yes, oxygen presence is essential for the water, okay, which is used for drinking purpose, okay, because it helps in oxidation of the food particles or food material. But the same oxygen, when you are using, the water in the boiler, that should not be present, that is not expected, okay. The water parameter is going to be differing from one application to the another application. If water is containing oxygen in the dissolved form in it, okay, the problems we are going to encounter are, I would like to show in the form of the reaction, okay. So if the water you are going to use as a boiler feed water contains dissolved oxygen, I'm just showing here the reaction, 2Fe plus 2H2O plus O2. Here 2H2O plus O2, this part is nothing but H2O is the boiler feed water, and O2 here, this is the dissolved oxygen present in the boiler feed water. Then what is this iron? This is boiler material, okay, steel. At high temperature, because boiler means hot water it contains. At high temperature, in the presence of dissolved oxygen, temperature at a high temperature is one of the factors affecting the rate of corrosion. We have studied earlier. As the temperature increases, the rate of the corrosion also increases. At high temperature, at high pressure, oxygen attacks on the iron or steel, and slowly this steel undergoes oxidation to form iron hydroxide. This further undergoes oxidation to form Fe2O3. Thus, iron will form its oxide, iron oxide. So it will be losing its originality. So it will form its compound. Thus it undergoes corrosion. So this second reaction, what itself this iron hydroxide further undergoes oxidation to form iron oxide. So this is a very severe one. Okay, how does the oxygen in the dissolved form, if it is present in the water, is going to affect the boiler and leads to the corrosion? You have understood, it turns into iron hydroxide, and further oxidation leads to the conversion into iron oxide. So thus thus the boiler gets corrosion. Then how one can eliminate this boiler corrosion due to the dissolved oxygen. ಈ ಡಿಸಾಲ್ವ್ಡ್ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ನಿಂದಾಗಿ ಬಾಯ್ಲರ್ ಕೊರೋಜನ್ ಆಗದೇನೆ ಇರೋ ಹಾಗೆ ನಾವು ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದು, ಏನು ಕ್ರಮ ಕೈಗೊಳ್ಬೋದು? ವಾಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಡೂ? We can adopt some chemical treatment as well as some physical treatment. Chemical treatment, what we can do? There is some chemical called as hydrazine. So hydrazine means N2H4, it is a hydrazine. ಇದಕ್ಕೆ hydrazine ಅಂತ ಕರೀತಾರೆ. This hydrazine is added into the boiler feed water. a small quantity of hydrogen is added along with the boiler feed water. What it does, it loves oxygen. It loves to interact with oxygen. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಭಾಳ ಭಾಳ ಇಷ್ಟ. ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾಣುತ್ತೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಗಬಕ್ಕಂತ ನುಂಗ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಡ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಇಟ್ interacts with oxygen and then it converts oxygen into water and nitrogen liberates that. Thus, continuously, this hydrogen will convert into water and nitrogen. So, this is one of the chemical treatment which is going to be reducing the dissolved oxygen in the water and thus reducing the chance of boiler getting corrosion. Then mechanical deaeration. Okay, so mechanical deaeration, in this method water is heated and it is allowed to trickle down, fall from top to bottom, okay, in a through a perforated plate. Perforated means through a small holes, through a plates containing small holes. Small holes, why? Because we want to reduce the size of the drops of the water. If the drop size is going to be lesser, its surface area is going to be increased and more quantity of oxygen can be easily come out. The dissolved oxygen can easily be come out from the water. This is what the idea. When water is heated, the oxygen is trying to come out from the hot water. So if you allow the water to trickle down through the smaller pore, perforated plate, okay, small pores containing plate, then with the reduced size, increased surface area, the water droplet, releases the oxygen gas, and then that oxygen gas released can be evacuated from the chamber with the help of the vacuum pump. ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನೀರನ್ನ ಬಿಸಿಯಾಗಿ ಕಾಸಿಬಿಟ್ಟು ಮೇಲೆ ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣದಾಗಿ ಹೋಲ್ ಇರೋಂಥ ಒಂದು ಪ್ಲೇಟಿಂದ ನಿಧಾನವಾಗಿ ನೀರನ್ನ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸಣ್ಣದಾಗಿ ತೂತಿರೋ ಪ್ಲೇಟ್ನಿಂದ ಯಾಕೆ ಬಿಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂದರೆ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಅದದು ವಾಟರ್ ಸರ್ಫೇಸ್ ಏರಿಯಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗಬೇಕು, ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಬೇಕು. ಹಾಗೆ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆದಾಗ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿರುವಂಥ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಬಂದು ಆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಅಷ್ಟು ಹೊರಗೆ ತೆಗೆದುಬಿಡೋದು. ಆ ಆಕ್ಸಿಜನ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದಮೇಲೆ ಅದನ್ನೇ ವ್ಯಾಕ್ಯೂಮ್ ಪಂಪಿಂದ ಏನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಎವ್ಯಾಕ್ಯುವೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ವಾಟ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಐಡಿಯಾ ಆಫ್ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ deaeration. So applying the vacuum through vacuum pump and evacuating all the oxygen is the idea, and hence minimizing the dissolved oxygen in the water. So presence of carbon dioxide, how it is going to be, the reason, how it is going to be the reason for the corrosion. Let us try to understand this also. Okay, so hello, unmute that. Don't yes, presence of magnesium chloride. Before to that, presence of dissolved carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide, if it is present in the water usually in the Boiler means hot condition will be existing at a high temperature and pressure. This carbon dioxide, it will be interacting with water continuously. First of all, you just try to understand this bicarbonate, this carbon dioxide, how does it comes into water is also very important. Carbon dioxide water ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ? Okay, so how does it comes into water is a very good question. So this magnesium which is present in the form of the bicarbonate decomposes and it will be forming carbon dioxide and it will be forming water. Remember, this magnesium carbonate is insoluble in water. It is like a white particle. Okay, so if you just filter through filter paper, it will be just removed. So this is a carbon dioxide in the gaseous form. This, if you just imagine this carbon dioxide at high temperature interacts with boiler feed water to form carbonic acid. This is acidic in its nature. This is a carbonic acid. This carbonic acid is the reason for the boiler corrosion. It attacks, this carbonic acid attacks on the steel of the boiler and then it will lead to the boiler corrosion. By the addition of a calculated amount of ammonia, okay, one can avoid the effect of carbonic acid. Okay, one can neutralize by adding ammonia the effect of carbonic acid. Neutralization means the reaction between acid and the base to form the salt and the water. So ammonia, when it interacts with the carbonic acid, this will not be acidic further and therefore it will not be acting on the boiler. It won't be further causing any corrosion. Okay, so thus dissolved carbon dioxide can, so it will become fatal if it is not if it is not going to be taken care very properly, if you do not remove it very properly. Okay. Then presence of magnesium chloride. So magnesium chloride, it is a salt. Okay, so it is a soluble salt in the water. If it is present in the water, then it interacts with the water at high temperature in the form of which is a boiler feed water, and it will get hydrated. It will get hydrated and magnesium hydroxide is formed and there will be the formation of HCl. So this HCl is going to be very fatal. This is acidic in nature and this attacks directly on the say boiler and therefore boiler gets corroded due to the formation of this HCl. This HCl attacks on the boiler and then boiler, that is steel, converts into its compound iron chloride. This iron chloride further undergoes hydrolysis to form iron hydroxide. Okay, this iron hydroxide further undergoes oxidation to form iron oxide. So one thing you notice here that HCl, once it attacked on the steel, it has regenerated again. Okay, so it has not converted into FeCl2 completely and it has not stopped its reaction. Okay, it has mediated. It has attacked on the steel and converted steel into iron chloride, and iron chloride further interacted with the water and then iron has converted into iron hydroxide and chloride, it is associated with the hydrogen and then once again, okay, so there occurred the HCl. So this HCl has been regenerated. So concentration of HCl goes on increases if the magnesium chloride converts into magnesium hydroxide. Therefore, one has to remove magnesium chloride before the boiler feed water is going to be entering into the boiler. Otherwise, that leads to the corrosion. Okay. So, in this method, in this method, okay, so sorry, one can just use ion exchange method to remove magnesium chloride from the salt before employing the water containing magnesium chloride. Other than that, there is no method is helpful. Okay, so which can avoid the corrosion due to the presence of magnesium chloride. Please mute your all of you mute yourself. Now we shall go for the study of determination of dissolved oxygen in the water. So this is one of the very important questions asked generally in the question paper. This is called as Winkler's method. The principle of this method is that, okay, the sample of water given has to be treated with manganese sulfate, and the same water has to be treated with potassium iodide, and then, okay, so in this particular condition, manganese will be oxidized to manganic condition or oxidation condition. Okay, so manganese sulfate will be oxidized to manganic acid. So this is what about the principle of the experiment. So on acidification, how much of the manganic acid has been formed, okay, you will be able to understand by the titration against say potassium sodium thiosulfate solution, okay, because this is an iodometric titration involving experiment. So here is the procedure of the, here is actually the reactions that are involved in the experiment. Okay, so this is alkaline condition, and the mangana, manganese sulfate will be oxidized to manganic acid, and then, you know, this is going to be established with the help of the iodine, and how much of the iodine has been, okay, interacted with the manganese will be understood with the help of you know the liberated iodine, and this iodine, how much it is liberated, can be understood by the sodium thiosulfate. By knowing the volume of the sodium thiosulfate, you will be able to understand how much of the iodine has been liberated. With that, how much of the, say, hydrogen was associated can be understood. In that way, it is an indirect method of assessing, okay, how much of the oxygen is present in the, say, water sample. Okay, so here there is a procedure. 2 ml of manganese sulfate is added with potassium iodide, and then the solution, potassium iodide solution, they are to be taken in the bottle containing 250 ml of water, and the bottle is stoppered. It should be shaken for 10 to 15 minutes, and allowing to stand for about 2 minutes. We will be observing the precipitate at the bottom. Then 1 ml of the concentrated sulfuric acid should be added, and it should be stoppered, shaken well. You will be observing that, the precipitate formed will be redissolved. Okay, that precipitate will be redissolved, and then 100 ml of this redissolved solution is to be pipetted out, and then it should be titrated against the sodium thiosulfate. Here, during the titration, starch will be used as an indicator. The change in the color will be occurring from, you know, uh, white to violet color. Okay, so it will be blue to violet, sorry, white to violet color will be the change in the color. And the calculation is that normality of the sodium thiosulfate solution, it is known to you, N1, because you will be preparing that one. Volume of the sodium thiosulfate consumed, it is known during the experiment how much of the sodium thiosulfate consumed. This is experimentally come to, you will be burette reading, this is V1 ml. And then normality of the dissolved oxygen. Okay, so by knowing the burette reading and by knowing the sodium thiosulfate solution, 100 ml, 100 is, that is volume of the sample you have taken for the titration. So by just N1 V1 by 100, that is V2, you will be able to understand to calculate the N2, that is normality of the dissolved oxygen. If you just calculate normality of the oxygen with the equivalent weight of oxygen, okay, so then you will be able to convert into parts per million. Okay, so this is how you will be able to quantify the dissolved oxygen present in the water sample. Okay, so any queries if you have, please uh, ping me or else mail me. Thank you. I would like to conclude this session.